This one should be a fun build. This is our 1994 MR2 with 80,000 original miles. This thing at one point had a 5SFE and then had just a regular 2GR, then a 2GR turbo, and then we've pulled everything out and we're going to be doing a drag car build to kind of showcase what the 2GR can do. So we've started already. We've started stripping out some of the interior, as you can see. We're going to be taking it for a roll cage here soon. But now we're going to push this thing next door and start removing more stuff. We're going to remove all the stuff under the dash, all of the AC components. We're not going to be using any of that. And then we're going to have to get up all the sound deadening material and clean all this up. Nothing in there yet.
Fired up.
Yeah, go ahead and put it in neutral.
Thank goodness the windows aren't down. There you go, it's in neutral.
Keys in it.
Feel strong?
Oh, this thing rolls.
Oh yeah.
Kenny feels like there's no engine in it.
Where's the dash?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's up on the shelf.
Another part I just drove over there's gonna need some brake work.
Are they pretty bad?
Yeah, you go right to the floor.
Now that you've checked out the car, let's check out some of the parts that are going to be going on this thing. So there's no rhyme or reason here. I'll just kind of start at one end and go. Suspension wise, we have some drag coilovers that our buddy Bob Pham has made for us. 808 Motorsports. Swift springs, valved for the weight of our car. Remote reservoirs. These things are really nice pieces. If you guys have not used any of his products, I recommend trying them out. We use a lot of his just regular street coilovers on cars here that come through the shop, and everybody loves them. So Bob does a great job with that stuff. We have some shock travel sensors that we're going to mount these on the shock and to the chassis of the car, so we can monitor how much travel the front and rear suspension is getting. Fuel wise, we have a 10-gallon fuel cell here with a lot of radium parts. All the radium parts we've ever used work great, fit great, look great, so we kind of stuck with that. We're going to use a radium fuel cell surge tank. So this contraption here is technically housing 4 fuel pumps. This here will come out, and up top up here we'll have a one Walbro Hellcat pump that is just a lift pump that will pump fuel into this reservoir here, this surge tank, and then we'll fill that up, and then inside that tank will be 2 or maybe 3 Hellcat fuel pumps to pump fuel out depending on how much we need. This whole contraption is pretty nice. This is just a kind of a somewhat generic square 10-gallon fuel cell that we cut the opening and then welded the radium flange onto that so we can install this. This makes this really nice to be able to check your fuel pumps, replace a fuel pump, whatever you want. In terms of filling the tank, you can buy all different kinds of fittings that go on. This is just this fitting will unthread. This is going to bolt on here with an O-ring, and we'll open that. You could fill it at the track or at the gas pump, whatever you want. We have a radium fuel filter with a radium heat sink filter bracket. So we'll mount that probably somewhere under the car or where the factory tank was, is what I'm going to guess. We have, let's see here, radium fuel rails. The radium fuel rails for the 2GR are really nice pieces and honestly pretty affordable for what you're getting. So we use these fairly often, and so we're going to use these on our shop car build. We have a radium fuel pressure regulator. The really cool thing about these new radium regulators are how you adjust them. You don't need any tools. The top part up here just moves and you feel little detents, and that's how you can adjust. You know, it's just hard enough that it won't move on its own, but you have to force it a little bit and it'll click, and you can adjust fuel pressure. You can also move the vacuum reference and aim it however you want. It's a pretty neat piece. Injectors, we have some Injector Dynamics ID 1700s. So typically on our regular 2GR turbos, we're using ID 1300s, but to get to where we want to go, we needed more fuel. We have a lower intake flange from Mark over at Frankenstein Motorworks. It's a really nice piece. So this just bolts to the factory lower intake manifold and will allow us to put either like a Holly top or something similar on there for a plenum, depending on what size we want the plenum. We're still not really sure what we're going to do plenum wise or anything like that, but chances are it's going to have this piece with some sort of plenum, either off the shelf or something custom. For boost control, we're, instead of using boost pressure to control the MAC valves, we're going to use CO2 pressure. So from talking to a lot of the drag racing guys, this is kind of the way to go to control boost exactly how you want it. So we're going to try that out. We got a whole box here of Willwood stuff from our buddy Eric over at Hux Racing. He gave us all the info for everything we needed. We're going to do front and rear drag brakes. So currently we have Wilhelm Raceworks brakes, which are great, but they're big, and for what we're doing, we don't really need that much braking. So this is going to be for smaller calipers, drag brakes. Hopefully it should be a lot lighter than what we're running right now. It's going to be 4 little calipers like this. So we'll have a good video when we go to install. Most of this stuff that I'm showing you, when we go to install it, I plan to make some good videos of us actually installing and modifying and fabricating what's needed to do it. So next up we have the turbo that we're going to use, which is a Comp oilless 6871 turbo. Typically on our regular 2GR turbo builds, we're using a Comp 6265, and that tends to, we're kind of running out of steam at about the 800 level, so we needed to go bigger. So I'm hoping this gets us to where we need to go, and our main goal on day one is anything over 1,000 is a plus, but we'll kind of see what limits we run into. We're going to be making the whole turbo kit essentially from scratch. I'm not sure what headers we're going to use, if we're going to make something from scratch or what, but we'll definitely document that as we do it. We are using a Clutch Masters triple disc clutch. So let me see if I can get this up with one hand. You can see in here there's 3 discs inside there, but the height of the clutch is still the same as our twin disc that we usually use. ARP hardware all around. I'm hoping this holds what we want. You know, originally when I first started this process, I thought that maybe I would drive this car quite a bit. So I went with the triple thinking it would drive a little smoother. Then I a larger twin disc. They do offer like a race twin disc, but now I'm not sure that it's going to get driven too much on the street unless we do like a drag and drive event or something like that. So we'll see. Hopefully it holds. We have a clutch slipper valve here, a clutch tamer. So I'm not sure if we're going to use this one or there is a solenoid version. This one here is just a contraption that you will install and set up on your actual clutch pedal, and you can adjust the speed of which the clutch pedal comes up, so you can fine tune it to where if you're drag racing on a launch, you can dump the clutch, but it will not technically dump the clutch. It will ease the clutch pedal back as if you're slipping it, and you'll have to fine tune a couple adjustments on this to get it how you want it. So I think that seems to take quite a while to get set up properly when you're drag racing, but once you have it, I think it's just taking little adjustments here or there depending on how the track is. For the ECU, we're going to go with a Fuel Tech. So this is a FT600 ECU. Lots of boxes to open. Come on. So the Fuel Tech comes with its own display, but it's also the ECU. So this is going to get mounted probably on the steering column, because you can, it's a touch screen, you can make adjustments, you can do different things right on the screen. So you want it within reach. And then we're going to make a harness from scratch. So we kind of have a flying lead set up here that we're going to have to wire in the car. It's going to be a long harness because since the screen is also the ECU, that means everything runs from the engine all the way up to wherever you have that display mounted. So it's going to be a long harness. Transmission wise, we are doing the SQS dog box. So this is, we still stuck with a 5-speed. You can get it in a 4-speed. We stuck with the 5-speed. You can see this is how it comes when you order it. You essentially are going to get, let's set it up here. You're essentially going to get this set up right here if you order an SQS box from us. You get both of the shafts, all of the gears, the final drive, or the differential ring gear, billet shift forks, comes with everything. So as you can see here, see if I can get this to zoom in, each gear, instead of having synchronizers, just has what they call dogs. So it's kind of like teeth that will slide up and down as needed when you shift. And instead of trying to line up a whole bunch of synchronizers, all it needs to do is lock into place. So when you shift, you get very precise shifts. I tell customers, I say, man, the one of the downsides of the E153 transmission is that it's not a very smooth transmission, but you go to something like this and it becomes very smooth. But on the same side, you can shift in the wrong gear at any RPM, because it's, if you want it to go in, it's going in. There's nothing that's going to stop you. We have the axle stubs from Frana. So they give us some very beefy axle stubs here. You know, we thought for a while we were just going to use our off-the-shelf axle stubs, but the power that we're making, they're not rated for 1,000 horsepower drag racing. So we just went right off the bat and got the Frana ones that, I know they'll hold. Differential wise, we are going to use just a regular Quaife differential. We do this on a lot of cars here, installing this diff. So yeah, this will be what goes in. And then in terms of the shifting, we went back and forth whether we were just going to do just a regular H pattern. But then after some talks with Eric over at Hux, he had this, which is also made by SQS, the same people that make the dog box parts make this shifter. This is technically a shifter that will convert your H pattern into a sequential. It's kind of odd, but inside there are mechanisms and rollers that will let you shift like a sequential, even though the transmission is set up in a traditional H pattern. So you can see when you want to shift, you slam it back. And there's a strain gauge that's on here, and that is when this is set up, when it feels you pulling, you can set it up to pull timing or whatever you want, so that way you can just leave your foot on the gas and slam it back with this is to get into reverse, this release here. But yeah, it's a pretty cool piece. So with that, there's some other cool things like a big gear indicator that we'll have up on the dash and whatnot, but I am curious to see how this works. If it doesn't work great, we'll go back to a traditional H pattern, but it's not really that difficult to go back, so we're not doing anything transmission wise. It's all built into the shifter and the shifter cables. Axle wise, we went with Drive Shaft Shop, so they're stage 5 pro level axles here with larger hubs and everything. So, you know, from Brian and his car had used our TCS axles for a long time, but once you start getting to really big slicks or drag radials and a ton of horsepower, you know, you're on borrowed time using any kind of OEM type axle. So, you know, people that have used these have used them with great success, so that's what we went with, hoping we can minimize downtime and breakages. Let's see here, what's next? Engine. Here we go. Let's see what we got. All right. So, engine we got from the guys at CSS, Cylinder Support System. We sent them a 2GR, and they did all the machine work, and we went with this bottom end has Wiseco pistons and BC rods with their cylinder support system. You can kind of see in between the cylinders. It's no longer just an open deck. And we also had them do the O-ring groove. So it's just a copper O-ring that goes around the cylinder to help the head seal. So I'm hoping that helps us a little bit. I know what we're doing hasn't really been done. I mean, you'll see a random post about 1,000 horsepower 2GR or something like that, but you know, I don't see many that have been done and have been together for a while. So we'll see if we can make that happen. The heads, we didn't really do anything crazy. We just have upgraded valve springs, retainers. We're going to do the upgraded lifters with the lifter locks so we can't pop a rocker off. Upgraded valves. Kind of your standard stuff. On this particular setup, we didn't do any head porting or anything. So I think we're going to try this and see how it works and see where we maybe find limitations and then go from there. In the head, we're also going to put a set of Kelford cams. These are their 263B cams. So we'll try these out and see. You know, I thought for a while we were going to use the factory cams because I think a couple people have used the factory cams and done really well. But it's kind of one of those, while you're in there, we'll try it. So we're going to try the cams along with, let's see here, head stud kit, the lash adjusters, and the little locks for those. Then we have steering wheel, nothing exciting. We have a Davies Craig water pump. So what we're going to do with this, we're going to get rid of the factory water pump on the 2GR, and we're going to switch it to an electric water pump. that'll let us cool the car down when the car is not even running, things of that nature, so we can turn the pump on a switch and cool the engine down in between runs if needed, even when the engine's not running. And then we have a Ross Performance damper here, their race damper. Yeah, some of this stuff is going to be trial and error, man. If nobody's done it, then until somebody does it, you kind of don't know what works and what doesn't. And then sometimes you talk to somebody that says they've done it, and what they're doing seems a little crazy. So I don't know. We'll see. I have we got a parachute mount still have to put on. We have what looks to be a really comfortable seat here. Your plain Jane Kirky seat, and there's a pad that'll go on that to make it a little softer. We have a drag wing here that we'll post some videos when we put it on, but I haven't even taken it out of the box. But that gives you a good idea of kind of what goes into trying to build a car for this much power. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of time, and in this case, a lot of trial and error. This is not cookie cutter where you can just click a button and buy the parts that work. A lot of this we're going to have to kind of see where our limits are, what works, what doesn't work, and adjust as necessary. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and hopefully this season, Brian and I might be out racing. I know Brian's a lot further ahead than I am. Right now he's just waiting on one of these with the final drive that he wants. But other than that, we're moving along. Yeah, let us know in the comments if there's certain things here that you would rather see more of. I don't know if we'll spend a ton of time on a video installing coilovers, but we might spend more time on fabricating the turbo kit, or if you guys want a video of installing and properly setting up the dog box or engine parts or anything like that, we can do whatever. So part of our issue, there's only a couple of us here, so a lot of times the days go by and cars come and go, and we realize we didn't film anything, we didn't talk about anything, we made no content. So in a way that's good, we're staying busy, but we'll try to give you guys what you want. If you don't care about drag racing content, then we're just going to build this and not make many videos. But if it's something you guys want to see, we'll definitely make more videos of it. We're still waiting on a lot of stuff from Hux Racing. He's sending us a 2GR motor plate and a anti-squat kit and a whole bunch of other suspension type parts that are going to go on the car. So yeah, well, till next time.